morning, Patriots. Wonderful look at the canals there in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, boating capital of the world. Who knew?
Beautiful.
Didn't know until I moved to South Florida, but it's beautiful there, not too far from where we are in West Palm. Ed and Karyn here for this American Sunrise. And we like to highlight important causes out there. Here we were just talking to Danielle D'Souza Gill about election fraud. It should be front and center, making sure we get to the truth, we get to the bottom of it. Now we bring in a very special person. Her name is Maria Trusa. She started an organization called I Say No More. It's all about fighting sexual abuse against children. She's standing up. She's particularly fired up about this cause for the entire nation, but particularly in the Latino community. She has a book by the same name, I Say No More. We want you to check it out. We're going to have our website as well, where she's got some wonderful charitable causes at the bottom of the screen. But Maria, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate the voice that you're giving me this morning for the voiceless.
That's good. We are all about that at Real American Voices. Ed and Karyn here. Why don't you just tell us about why you started this? I know you recently had a march, I believe, in the New York area, but this is something obviously about the entire country. You've got a national audience. Why did you start it, and what are you trying to do to sort of change America for the better?
So I call sexual abuse in children a silent pandemic. It is something that affects all of us. I am a survivor. I was sexually abused at the age of 9 in the Dominican Republic. And the person that gave me to the abuser happened to be my father. My father gave me to his friend. It is something that you're listening to the story and you would say, this is the unthinkable, that a father would do that. And I almost lost my life at the age of 9. I had a trajectory of life where there was decades of toxic environment for myself, toxic decisions. And then at some point, I decided to say no more when I had my first child. And I started the healing process, and I've been able to get to where I am today. I am an extremely successful woman. I'm an entrepreneur. I serve the underserved community with a medical center and urgent care. And in addition to that, I decided to write this book, I Say No More, Yo Digo No Más, which led me to understand the pandemic that existed, especially in our Latino community. As I ended up doing a lot of public speaking, so many people started to come to me telling me I was abused as a child. And there's so many souls out there walking and really dead before they die, because what happens when you get sexually abused as a child, it is a destruction of your life. It is really hard to come back from that trauma.
Maria, so proud of you for coming back. And, you brought up the Latino community. I'm wondering why. I think a lot of us are probably wondering why. Why is this community impacted by this so greatly?
There's a transgenerational issue with trauma and sexual abuse in the Latino community. My niece happens to be a doctor in psychology that specializes in trauma of children and adolescents. And she has been studying how this is through generation. The abuser becomes an abuser themselves. Unfortunately, the person that is abused, many times they end up abusing others. And so you start passing it on to generations. And the other thing is, in the United States, if you look at the data, every 9 minutes, a child is sexually abused. Latinos happen to be number 2. And this is something that it is a secret in our community. The Latino community talks about how basically anything that happens in the family stays in the family. So we've created social norms that are feeding the silent pandemic. But I have to make it clear, it is not just a Latino problem. This is a worldwide problem. It is a silent pandemic, as I say. So it affects many, many cultures. And many times, most of the time, according to the data from RAIN, over 90% of the abuser is someone in the family or close to the family. And that is why it's so hard to really stop or eradicate sexual abuse in the children, especially in the Latino community, because of social norms that have been created.
Yeah, pardon me. At least it's a little less silent now because of your bravery, your courage that you're showing to speak out. As we wrap this conversation, people are also pretty frustrated about Disney and others out there within our culture that have been pushing programming and other things that seem to celebrate some of these awful things. And it's frustrating to people that when you speak out on it, you get pushback. And maybe now Disney is under a lot of pressure. Others, not just to pick on them, Netflix has had this issue as well. What are your thoughts about our culture in pushing back and making sure that our kids are not seeing that kind of trash that will perpetuate all of this further?
I think we need to continue breaking the silence of sexual abuse of the children. And because we don't talk about it, then things like what you're talking about, it starts to happen. So creating trauma sensitivity and trauma informed systems throughout. This is something that the movement Yo Digo No Más is doing with the school district locally. As you were mentioning, we had a march that close to 1,000 people showed up. And that was our first march, April 30th. People are going to start saying no. Sexual abuse affects our children. We need to stop it. And organizations like Netflix, they really have to understand how trauma affects these children and their lives. And they're dealing with it with our employees. I mean, we're dealing with trauma whether we like it or not. So we becoming a trauma-informed system in creating that throughout the different sectors of life is something that is necessary.
Maria Trusa, it is necessary. You were so brave. YoDigoNomas.com. I say no more. That's Spanish, obviously. She's got the book by the same name. We appreciate it. We want to see how this foundation develops. Next time you have a march, let us know so we can have you on and promote it and talk about this very important issue. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Maria, we'll see you soon. Thank you. Very important topic to discuss, and she's terrific.
Sure.
Let's keep this rolling. Get to our buddy Terrence Bates. He's live in our Denver newsroom with some economic headlines. Good morning again, Terrence.
Ed and Karyn, good morning, and good morning to you at home. McDonald's is moving out of Russia more than 3 decades after the company became the first American fast food restaurant to open in the Soviet Union. McDonald's has 850 restaurants and employs some 61,000 people there in Russia. The company points to the humanitarian crisis caused by the war in Ukraine as the reason holding on to the business in Russia, quote, is no longer tenable, nor is it consistent with McDonald's values. Just this morning, McDonald's said it is seeking a buyer for its Russian restaurants. Part of the proposed deal would require prospective buyers to pay McDonald's employees until the deal is finalized. So, if you're looking to protect your hard-earned money, one of the options to consider is physical gold and silver, and the folks to talk to are at Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold are experts in precious metals. They also boast an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied customers. You can buy gold coins, or you can convert an existing IRA into a gold IRA. You can even convert an eligible 401k account to a gold IRA. Here's how to get started. All you have to do is text the word America to the number 989898, and Birch Gold will then send you a free information kit with no obligation. They'll also show you how to protect your gold and silver investments in a tax-sheltered account. So, get the facts and get started today. You really have nothing to lose. All you have to do is text the word America to the number 9898 and get your free information kit from Birch Gold. All right, let's go back to Ed and Karyn. And Ed and Karyn, I was kind of looking at you guys on my screen here as I was reading all of that. And Karyn, you looked really engaged. You looked like you were right zoned in there while I was reading all of that. I like that. I appreciate it.
I was watching Ed text.
Wait, is he saying that I wasn't?
You were texting.
You were looking down at something. You must have been studying something for the upcoming segment. But Karyn, she was
you want to know what I was doing? I
I
was looking up another Iggy Azalea song, and I thought No Mediocre would fit you. I was going to say, but now I'll hold it back. I was going to say Terrence Bates, No Mediocre for him, but then he decided to take a shot at me. So maybe mediocre it is.
Not taking a shot, just telling the truth.
I wasn't paying attention because I was trying to find a song that would promote your wonderful non-mediocre ways, but then you decided to say that I wasn't paying attention, so it went off the rails.
It really did go off the rails. I'm not sure where to go from here.
All right, in the meantime, let's get to your More Money Minute.
Good morning, folks. It is time for the More Money Minute. I'm economist Steve Moore. Let's get right down to it. The latest inflation report shows that inflation now every month that Joe Biden has been president, inflation has outpaced wages. Workers are running behind. They're losing income to the inflation tax that Biden has imposed with his massive trillions of dollars of spending. My good friend Andy Puzder, who was a top official in the Trump administration, has found that when you track the inflation rate and track the wage rate, there's no way that wages have been able to keep up with this high inflation. The latest data indicate that workers are losing about $300 a month, $300 a month to higher inflation. That means over a year, over $3,000 of the Biden inflation tax, which is wreaking havoc on family budgets. Gee, I thought Joe Biden was supposed to be Lunch Bucket Joe, who was going to help the middle class. Well, the middle class is falling behind. And by the way, virtually every month that Donald Trump was president, wages grew faster than inflation, which means that people were getting richer under Trump, and now they're getting poor under Joe Biden. Now, let's look at the other big issue from last week and the week ahead, which is the stock market. Over the last week to 2 weeks, over that rocky period for the stock market when we've seen a real meltdown, it's estimated that investors have lost somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 to $8 trillion. $6 to $8 trillion. This has been one of the biggest evaporations of wealth that we've seen in American history. This stock market rout is going to lead to a wealth effect where Americans are going to start looking at their 401k plans and their stock holdings and realize that they're not nearly as good financial shape as they were a year ago. How this will affect the economy is yet to be seen. Will it cause a reduction in consumer spending? I think it will. It's a very precarious time for the American economy, and unfortunately, we have a president who has not a clue about what to do about it. I'm Steve Moore. That's the More Money Minute, and I'll see you all same time tomorrow. Have a great day.
All right, Stephen Moore, we appreciate it. Very interesting. There are moms in this country who cannot get baby formula. And the Speaker of the House, who happens to be a woman and always touts what she's doing for women in particular, doesn't seem to care. She's saying, oh, I wish we had known about this. I don't know how this happened. You're in power. It happened because of you. And maybe it's because you're focused on getting alcohol to congressional offices and Peloton memberships for lawmakers. You hear they got Peloton?
I hear she likes alcohol.
They get Peloton. Oh, interesting. More on Pelosi and Peloton and how they have all the perks, but the moms don't have the baby formula. Yeah.